if you're thinking about moving out here to St. George, Utah, yes, this little pocket of southern Utah that is near Las Vegas, you've got to watch this video because in it, we're going to get out the map. We're going to explain all the different areas. We're going to explain parts about southern Utah that you're going to love. And we're going to explain parts that you might actually hate, which is probably more important. So you're going to want to watch this whole video so you don't make the mistake of moving to the wrong area. So let's get started. So let's begin just by explaining where St. George is. Here's St. George, this little city right here, which is in what is called Washington County. This is Washington County. And we are on the southern tip of the state of Utah. We are about an hour and 45 minutes from Las Vegas. So you may not even know that Utah has a climate similar to Las Vegas. We're about, it takes me 4 hours to get to Salt Lake City. But if you're driving slower, 4.5, 5 hours. And then if there's snow, it'll take, about who knows how long to get there.
It takes you about 5.5 hours to get to Los Angeles area. So it can give you a sense of where we are.
Yeah, it'll get to Los Angeles 5-6 hours, depending on where you're going. So.
And also the traffic can be much higher. I was
Yes, the traffic in Salt Lake City for a large city is not that bad. Los Angeles, worst in the entire United States.
It's bad traffic there?
Yeah. And then just zooming in a little more, we can show you just kind of what St. George and Washington County is really known for. It's known for its natural beauty. That's what all of Utah is known for, right? We're about 45 minutes from Zion National Park, and randomly, we're also quite close to the Grand Canyon. This is the northern rim of the Grand Canyon. I think that's about an hour and a half to get there. People actually like to go camping around here. Very high elevation right here. Our neighbor loves to go here. Little secret tidbit right there.
And then Bryce Canyon is also pretty close by.
Yeah, Bryce Canyon is...
2 hours or so away?
Yeah, Bryce Canyon is like around here. And, we're known for just the natural beauty of this particular area. And what's interesting, too, about St. George is that we're in a little valley. You just go 45 minutes, and then you're up in the mountains, 45 minutes to Cedar City. That's about 6,000 feet up there. Then up into Pine Valley right here is about... That's really high, up to 7,000 feet. And I think the mountain itself is close to 10,000. So you're just kind of sitting in a little valley here. So in the summer, it's easy to escape the heat. And then we're not going to go neighborhood by neighborhood. We're going to talk about some of the different cities in the area.
And we have done videos of the various neighborhoods in these various cities. So we'll link to all those playlists and everything.
Yeah, we'll link to the end at maybe some more in-depth videos about the different neighborhoods in St. George. We'll also talk in this video about maybe some of the areas you can go to if you're looking for a little bit more space. You don't want the, quote, crowds of St. George, even though I personally wouldn't call St. George crowded, but everyone's different. But we can start out with St. George, which is the most populated city in the area. It's kind of what people know. If you are from this area and maybe you live in Washington, which is the city right here, and then you're traveling, around the state, you'll probably just say, oh, I live in St. George, because that's kind of what the whole region is really known for.
So before we continue, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Sean Dazad.
And I'm Courtney Dazad.
And I'm a licensed realtor here in the state of Utah. And if you're watching this channel, you might be thinking, wow, Sean, I love St. George. I love the Red Rocks. I love just the outdoor activities I can do year round. I can't wait to move here now. The problem is I'm not local. I may be out of state. I may be even out of the country, so I don't know what to do. I totally get that. That's when you reach out to us because we have a team that has over 40 years of experience here in the St. George region itself. So we know all the nooks and crannies of this whole area. So when we have that conversation, we can really point you to the right direction. And we can also do virtual tours of not just the properties, but the neighborhoods as well. So when you do come out here, your time is spent super efficiently. So what you want to do is you want to give us a call or shoot us a text.
Yes, that number is a cell phone, so you can call us or text us, or you can use WhatsApp if you're outside the country.
Yeah, so St. George, Washington County, Southern Utah, kind of synonymous with each other. And then basically St. George, which is interesting about it, is that it's about population about 100,000. All of Washington County is about 200,000 roughly, right? So the greater St. George region is about 200,000. But St. George itself is kind of where everything starts, right?
Yeah.
Like this is kind of your major shopping corridors, even though that does bleed into Washington, the city of Washington a little bit, because what the city of Washington and the city of St. George are actually very similar. They kind of blend in. That's not the case with all these other cities. So they actually have their own unique kind of vibe to them. But Washington and St. George, I'm sure we'll be hearing from people from Washington saying that's totally wrong. But our experience has been it kind of bleeds into one another.
Yeah, and so kind of the center of St. George is the downtown area. So around here, that's kind of where everything, if there's an event, it tends to, take place downtown. If the Ironman's here, they start and they finish downtown. It's kind of the hub of the whole area. So if you're wanting to be just around where everything is happening, people like to live close to downtown just, if you like to be around where everything's happening. I know everybody doesn't particularly want that, but that's where the hub is. It's also where our hospital is. So if you are interested in living close to there, downtown, near the downtown area, maybe something you want to check out.
That's where Utah Tech is located, and that actually is a Division I school.
Yeah, it's a Division I university, growing a lot bigger. And then we can kind of, just because St. George is the largest city here, we can kind of just talk about maybe the different areas. You've got this Desert Canyons area over here right on the Arizona border. There's a lot of new construction out here. And then I can let Sean maybe divide up St. George into sort of like the bigger areas, even though there's lots of different neighborhoods like we've said.
Yeah, so we're seeing, and what's so interesting about St. George, you brought up like downtown St. George, and that's kind of where you're going to have your older properties for sure. Like, stuff that's like actually, well, by Western United States standards, pretty old. I mean, stuff like built in the 1950s and earlier, right? So not like, and then obviously you have other stuff that's built in the 70s and 1980s and that kind of thing. And then you have 2000s and obviously stuff that's being built literally as we speak right now. So Desert Canyons is kind of what you mentioned off Southern Parkway. Obviously just north of that is you have Desert Color, tons of development happening out here. And yeah, there's just a lot going on. And again, we've done more in-depth videos on these things, so we're not going to go too much into this. But yeah, so like there's just constant construction happening, not as much as you'd actually anticipate, because this has been where a lot of people have like relocated to. And part of that is because obviously we do have water restrictions, right? So we can't just build like how Las Vegas did back in the day, where you just building like crazy. We do have to be mindful of the water supply.
Yeah, and then maybe some of the other sort of more well-known areas. You've got Bloomington here, which tends to be a little bit older. You got Bloomington Hills, also a little bit older. You got the Little Valley area, which is a lot of new construction in here. And then, like we said, the downtown area is in here. There's a lot of new construction over here. And then up here in the ledges, a lot of new construction as well. That is very close to Snow Canyon State Park, which is...
Yet another park.
Well, it's honestly one of the most underrated parks, I feel like, in the entire state. So it's like 5 minutes from one of the most beautiful parks you'll ever see. So that's kind of, where you got for St. George. And then Washington, like Sean said, is next to it. Washington and St. George, quite similar in feel. And you want to talk about, the shopping corridor that goes from St. George into Washington?
Yeah. So actually, like what, one of the main things that is important for us in the area, or at least for me, that's near and dear to my heart, is that there has to be a Costco. So basically it's Telegraph Road here, Red Cliffs Drive here, and then River Road here. So this is where honestly so much is happening. You have the St. George Regional Hospital here, you have Best Buy, you have Target, you have Walmart, you have like pretty much all your big box stores. This is the main shopping corridor in the entire region. Now there are some other ones in the like Sunset Boulevard in St. George itself, but yeah, this kind of bleeds into Washington itself.
And then just real briefly, we'll talk about some of the neighborhoods in Washington. There's a lot of new construction in Washington. Tons. I'd say most of the houses there, are fairly new. So yeah.
And this is something, so there's like Washington Fields is one of those, like it's super popular. People are loving this area. And you have price ranges all over the place here. You have talking about stuff in the $500,000-ish range all the way to over $5, $7, $9, $10 million. I mean, it's all over the place. And a lot of it is based off of square footage. I had to understand that when we were moving here, is that it's less about where you are and what is actually the improvement to the land. So obviously the land size is important, but also what was done to that land. Like, did you put in 12,000 square feet? Is it really high-end stuff that's put into that? So if you put a lot of money into that building, that's kind of where a lot of the value is. Whereas in other parts of the country, it's all about location. Less so here, I would say.
Yeah, because sort of one thing to sort of add to that is, if you are talking about downtown St. George, so one thing that's really interesting about living in either Washington, which is here, St. George, Santa Clara, or Ivins, or even down here in this part of St. George, everything is honestly kind of 15 minutes away to the middle, no matter where you are. That's why it's another reason why so much stuff is happening in the middle of St. George, because it's just an easy meeting place for the whole community. So that's just another thing Everything's about 15 minutes away, no matter where you are, until you get into Hurricane, and we'll talk about what that means, in just a second. The Hurricane is this city right here, and that's a little bit farther. It's a great city, but, if you think that St. George is too crowded, it might be a city that you would be interested in.
For sure.
Yeah, but St. George itself, when you're talking about St. George, Washington, Santa Clara, Ivins, everything's about, 15 minutes away. So.
Yeah, that is the ongoing joke here for sure.
Yeah.
Which is actually nice because no matter where you are, especially because St. George Regional Hospital here or Intermountain Regional Hospital, this is like the major hospital in the area, and it's actually very highly rated. It's actually got about, it's depending on the year, second or third ranked in the entire state of Utah. And Utah's medical system is actually rated very highly, like for the country. So what's nice is that no matter where you are, you're still fairly close to a really good hospital.
Yeah, the hospital is right here. So I guess it's just because it's tons of, not only just the hospital, but tons of different, private doctors, all that sort of stuff. You got Utah Tech is just right here as well. So yeah, everything's kind of 15 minutes away from this hospital, which is a good thing. And then we can talk about Santa Clara next. Now, even though Santa Clara is right next to St. George,
totally different vibe.
It totally has a different vibe, which is pretty interesting. So cute. I love the downtown area of Santa Clara. It has a very old town charm. There is a decent amount of new construction out there as well, but it's just got a different vibe than St. George has. Pretty small. Usually, there's not that much for sale there because it is a smaller city.
Yeah, I think the population is about 8,000, give or take.
Yeah.
It's not very much at all.
Beautiful city, though. So nice. And then Ivins up here, again, it really has its own vibe as well. It kind of reminds me, anyone who's, come to visit us, they say it reminds them of Santa Fe, New Mexico. It really does have that vibe. You may have heard of Cayenta or Entrada. Those are very popular housing communities there. So, and then it's, got the Tuacan Center for the Arts, which is just this beautiful,
insane amphitheater,
a red rock amphitheater.
And so it's a natural amphitheater.
It's a natural amphitheater. And they've got a lot of, actually really good shows. People that have been on television, people have been on Broadway, they come and they perform here. So this is a really fun, little venue that we are lucky to have here.
And also, we're not going to talk about all the little, villages and towns here. We're talking about like the 5 major ones, basically. So that being in St. George, Washington, Santa Clara, Ivins, and Hurricane. These are the main ones. But there are other very interesting communities besides that.
Yeah, and we'll maybe just point them out just to show you where, if you're looking for a space, we'll point those out. But then let's talk about Hurricane next. So our little, joke about everything's 15 minutes away in St. George, it doesn't apply to Hurricane.
No.
It does not, unless you're kind of like right here.
Still not 15 minutes.
It's still not, yeah.
If you don't want it to be as busy as St. George, a little bit more tucked away, again, we're talking about 30 to 40-ish minutes. We're not talking about like way the heck out here, right?
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt you, but if you're here, you're probably 40 minutes from downtown St. George.
Exactly. So you're about, again, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on where you're on Hurricane. But if you want something that's a little bit more out of the way, not as busy, also that you really can partake in the outdoor lifestyle because there are 2 major reservoirs here, so Sand Hollow State Park as well as Quail Creek. These are actually ones that you can swim, you can go boating in, that kind of thing. So these are really, so we have some water features in this greater, St. George region as well. But also just, if you're going to go off-roading, if you want to do a lot of these things, because like you have always mentioned that these aren't actually, the lands here aren't necessarily all fenced off, right? So they're not private because it's owned by the Bureau of Land Management. So people have a bit more opportunities to actually do their side-by-side stuff like dirt bike riding, all those things, because again, what people love in this area is having a 3-car garage, one of which to be for the toys.
Yeah. And what's interesting about Hurricane too is it is self-contained. So you do have along State Street here, you've got everything you need, right? Except Costco, you don't have in Hurricane.
Boo.
But you do have Walmart, you do have, your regular grocery store, you have everything you need. You wouldn't necessarily have to go into St. George all that often if you didn't want to.
Yeah, St. George would probably be more like a once a week kind of thing if you wanted to kind of just fill in all the little gaps. I mean, again, like you were saying, you have all the necessities here. It's just that if you want a bit more and you want to make that trek to Costco, for instance, again, that's not that far away.
Yeah. So, but Hurricane, like we were saying, it's a great option if you maybe come here to St. George and you think St. George is too crowded. I know some people think it's gotten too crowded. I don't agree, but I mean, everyone's got their own opinion, right? And then do you want to just maybe just point out some of the other areas if you're looking for some land?
Well, yeah, or if we're going like, let's say closer to Zion, right? So like some of the popular spots, they have a very interesting feel to them. It's like Laverkin has an interesting feel to it. Tokerville, definitely.
And yeah, we probably should, sorry to interrupt you, Sean, but we probably should talk. There's a lot of
Development happening
in Tokerville. Tokerville, the main street is so cute and charming. And what they're doing is they are actually...
Sun River is developing big time.
So they're actually, what's kind of sad about Tokerville is all people come through here on the SR-17 because they're going to Zion. And so the main street has kind of gotten a little bit overcrowded. So they're actually doing a totally different parkway that is going to basically, the whole goal is to restore the charm of Tokerville. So you get all the tourists coming around here, going around Tokerville to go to Zion. And then, but then along here, they're going to have a lot of new development, a lot of new construction. So that's just something to know.
Exactly. And then you also have, again, like a Virgin is kind of on your way to Zion as well. So really very cute community for sure. And then you have, obviously, you have Rockville and Springdale. Springdale's like right on the edge of where Zion is. So,
yeah,
really, just I mean, you really want, you're going to be driving through these things to get to Zion because they're really cute communities and it's worth the stop.
Yeah, Leeds as well. I mean, again, these are very, very small towns though. So if you are interested, you know, there's not going to be much choice, of course, because there's not that much for sale. But we're just kind of noting these things because, you know, if people, you know, want a little bit more space. And then New Harmony, that is higher elevation though. But it's a popular spot. It's so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, kind of in the middle between Cedar City and St. George. It is higher elevation, though, so the climate is much colder in the winter.
Yeah, you'll get some snow.
Yeah, we have a video about New Harmony.
I really like New Harmony. It's because you can get pretty good sized parcels of land. Some of the views are incredible, and then some are like because, you know, you're right on the edge, you know, like, so Pine Valley Mountain is right next to you.
Yeah, so you have the mountains here.
Yeah, so you'll actually see, like, you'll see, like, the snow, like, right up to someone's, like, backyard. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy from the mountain, so.
Yeah, the mountain range here is so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's on that side of Pine Valley Mountain, right? And then on the other side, you have, like, for instance, Veo, which, if you were looking for a good pie, Veo Pies is pretty good, and shout out to Veo Pies.
Yeah, Dameron Valley. There's some smaller places. Enterprise is a cute little city, but that's about an hour from St. George. But again, if you're looking for more space, that could be something that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, so this is, and then obviously, you know, like, as far as the outdoor activities, I guess we can kind of briefly, you know, okay, one, if you're looking for outdoor activities, it's like, well, what do you want? Because there's so much of it all over the place. If you're interested in the mountains, Pine Valley Mountain is right here. But also, if you're interested in skiing, though, you don't have to go very far to experience that.
Yeah, so Bryan Head right here is a ski resort.
So it's not in Washington County.
It's not in Washington County, so it's in Iron County. That's where Cedar City is. So about
an hour and a half.
An hour and a half from St. George.
Yeah, so an hour and a half, you're in some real, again, it's a solid mountain. It's got like that champagne snow that Utah is definitely known for. It's got higher elevations, like, you know, 10, 11,000 feet. It's got runs. I mean, it's not obviously Park City, but it's, you know, again, if you have an itch to scratch for skiing, you could do far worse than Bryan Head. Bryan Head's pretty awesome. And then not to mention, as far as like the outdoor activities, trails are all throughout the place. So you have your roads, but also you have trails where you can go cycling, running, you know, hiking, you know, like all that stuff is right there. In fact, actually, our trail system's really so good that we've actually hosted the Ironman World Championship. So obviously that's pretty tough to do if you don't have some reasonable infrastructure. So we've had that, and obviously we have. I mean, if you're looking interested in golf, I mean, I think we have over 20 golf courses. I mean, you know, in the region, and so tons of golf opportunities. I mean, again, pickleball. There's just so much to do because obviously for a good 9 months out of the year, you can do stuff year round at all times of the day, and then those other 3 months where it does get hot, you can still work around the schedule where you can do your like activities in the morning or the late, you know, in the evening. But in particular, the morning, it's actually still pretty pleasant. There's a lot of places in the summer when it's hot, It's hot. It's perpetually hot. You're not going to get away from it. Whereas, at least in St. George region, because we are, pretty dry climate, the mornings are actually pretty pleasant.
Yeah, and then I probably should just real quick mention Pine Valley. This is very high elevation, very cold in the winter, but people do live up there. A lot of people have second homes up there. They go in the summer.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it live up there necessarily.
No, some people do.
They thought, like a few hundred.
Very small, yeah. I think population 200 or
something like that.
Yeah, but people do have a lot of second homes up there, especially for the summer when you're just dying in the heat.
Yeah, and some of these homes, the views, because they got, especially if you go in the summer, you're like, what am I seeing? But you see these homes along these meadows, and they have these huge windows, floor to ceiling windows, because they're taking in the view. But in the wintertime, that's all snow. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, when you get, like I was mentioning before, St. George, and this is a valley right here, and even parts of Zion in the winter, it is closed. You cannot go. They shut down the roads because it gets high elevation very quick.
We found that out the hard way.
So yeah, just know that here in St. George, very hot in the summer, but very quick. Within 45 minutes, you are at 7,000 feet.
And remember, I am a licensed realtor here in the state of Utah. So as much as we love making these videos, what we love more is to help you with your real estate needs. So whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, what you want to do is when you give us a call or shoot us a text.
Yes, that number is a cell phone, so you can call us or text us, or you can use WhatsApp if you're outside the country.